Good morning and welcome to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on InRavio.com.
Did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Hey, welcome. We're back for our final show of the season, guys. Morning, General. How are you today?
Morning, Admiral.
Glad to see you. You were able to make it down here.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Commish, how are you?
Doing good. I'm bringing it 80s old school with the Gibson jersey here, and I'm in the Dodgers.
Nice. So yeah, last show of the season. We're going to wrap a few things up for you guys. We'll start off with news of the week. The baseball gods helped things out this week a little bit. We had a situation where the umps finally seemed to get one right after getting it wrong. In the middle of what turned out to be a 10-run fourth inning for Oakland at Target Field, Jed Lowry lines a ball down the right field line that was initially called a foul ball by first base umpire Bill Miller. Bill Miller had to kind of dart out of the way to avoid getting hit. But Bob Melvin came out and argued, and the umpires conferred and decided to reverse the call and awarded him with a 2-run double.
Goes around, comes around.
Listen, you know what? Back in May, we had the issue with Angel Hernandez and the what should have been a game-tying home run against or by Adam Rosales that was ruled a ground rule double. Melvin was ejected. The A's went on to lose that game, so it's good to see that they finally, maybe they were watching us, maybe they heard your rant a few weeks ago and decided, you know what, we've got 4 umpires on the field. How about we get it right?
Hey, you know what? This instant replay can't come quick enough. Let's just get it on, get it going, and just be done with it. Everyone else is doing it.
You know what? In one way, shape, or form, I kind of hope they do it at some point. You know, at least not to excess, but
yeah.
You know, let's get some calls right here, guys. All right, let's get our final wrap up on the biogenesis mess. The arbitration hearing for A-Rod will be held on, I think Monday, September 30th. They're waiting until after the season ends. I hear there will be a further delay of this hearing if the Yankees make the playoffs, because apparently Major League Baseball does not want to interfere with A-Rod being able to play this year.
I don't think there's any risk of them making the playoffs at this point in time, as we continue to limp along and struggle along. The bullpen has completely imploded, and there's nothing left. And tonight, today, we send out our 4.82 ERA CC Sabathia to save the season. So I have a feeling it's over anyway.
General called CC 2 months ago, and I said he was done, and he is done.
Wow.
So you're hanging your hopes, your Jeterless hopes, by the way, on Mr. Sabathia tonight.
Yeah.
But anyway, A-Rod, 211-game suspension hanging over his head, and apparently there are going to be several meetings with the arbitration people to see if they can work this thing out. But I hope he gets every game of that 211.
He can't
Possible.
be at baseball soon enough.
It's possible he doesn't get any. You don't know what's going to happen. So.
It's possible, highly unlikely. I can't see this guy walking away.
You and I stood here and said we were going to whistle Dixie in Macy's window at high noon.
Naked.
Naked, if anyone got suspended. Oh, no, you said naked, not me. Although the public would rather see me, I'm sure of that.
Let's hope we don't come to that.
I'm Italian from the waist down.
I don't know what's going to happen, but, listen, anything's possible. He's got all the high-powered lawyers, arbitrators, look at things differently than we do. You don't know what's going to happen with him.
And he certainly has enough money to spend on this.
And now, of course, he's injured sort of again, so.
Yeah. All right, while you bring up the playoff races, let's go over that quickly. Boston in the American League East seems to have a firm grip on the division. Detroit, pretty much the same thing in the Central. I don't see Cleveland catching them. They're 6 games out. It would take a minor miracle over the last few weeks for them to catch them.
Well, you mean for the...
I'm talking about for the divisions.
The division,
right now.
okay.
Divisions. We'll talk about the wild card races in a minute. Oakland seems to have the West pretty firmly in hand. They're 4.5 up on Texas. Texas 2-8 in their last 10.
Yeah.
They're kind of giving it away at this point. Over in the National League in the East, we've got Atlanta 10 games up over Washington. Washington hot though, 9-1 in their last 10.
And I think they're 4 games out of a playoff spot
That's
right
where
now.
you're going to talk about Washington. They're not going to win the division, but they're making a go of a wild card berth here. The interesting race is the National League Central. We have St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati all separated by 3.5 games. Pittsburgh behind St. Louis at this point, 1 game. I said last week when you weren't here, G, but really pulling for Pittsburgh. I'd love to see them win that division. It's been a very long time for Pittsburgh.
It's been a long drought.
Yeah, I think it's 21 years without a winning record. 21 years,
Yeah,
folks.
that's a long time.
So that was the last
Mets
one.
fans.
That was when Barry Bonds couldn't throw out Sid Bream, right? That was the last playoff
that's
game.
right,
That
that's
was
right.
the last playoff
The
game.
curse of Sid Bream.
The dash for Sid Bream.
And your Dodgers
Yes.
in very good shape in the West.
Feeling-
4.5 games up.
Feeling good about them.
So let's get into the more interesting aspect of this whole mess here. We'll get into the wild card races. Right now in the American League, Texas and Tampa Bay are tied at the moment for the final 2 playoff spots. Cleveland only a game and a half out.
One thing about Cleveland, their schedule you couldn't ask for a weaker schedule from this point forward to the end of the season. So
Yeah.
right now, it may not look like they're in the mix at all, but when you're playing all those bad teams, you're in the mix. So
Yeah, and the Yankees in Baltimore even and Kansas City even still a shot. The Yankees are 2 games out. Baltimore's 2.5 out. Kansas City 3.5 out. I think it's going to be tough for any of those teams to catch both Texas and Tampa Bay. I see Texas and Tampa Bay definitely one of those 2 teams being in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Texas seems to be at the most risk right now, considering that they're playing like crap. But the Yankees aren't doing very well right now. I'd love to see Baltimore.
that's the one.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see them.
I would too.
They did a lot at the end of the trade deadline. They picked up some key guys, and I'd like to see them do it.
You can't count out Kansas City though. Although I don't think they have the hitting, but they have one of the best ERAs in the major leagues right now.
And they have
Believe
a
it or
bullpen.
not. Right.
And they have a bullpen. And right now, this time of year, this is about the bullpens.
That's
Right.
right.
And the reason the Yankees aren't going to go anywhere, I don't care if they win today or not, is that they have no bullpen. They're marching guys out there one after the other that, you need a scorecard to figure out who's who. That
And you
just
know
shows you
what?
the desperation that they're in right now.
And not only that, but they're overusing guys like Mariano and
it's-
Robertson. They're just very weak, and they've got nobody going deep in games.
Nope.
Kuroda may be the only guy that they can count on a little bit to go deep into a game. Their bullpen is just not going to last. The final weeks of the
I
season.
kind of agree with the commissioner. I think that probably that Baltimore or Tampa Bay or those guys have a better shot, Kansas City, than the Yankees do for sure.
Yeah, I would think so. And then over in the National League, it's pretty apparent right now. It's probably going to be St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati, one winning the division, the other 2 making the playoffs. You have Washington with an outside shot, 4.5 games back. Arizona's 9 out; they're done. But Washington, they're on a roll. They're 9-1 in the last 10.
Strasburg just got pushed back too. He was supposed to start. I guess now he's. I don't know what the deal
Oh,
is
why don't
with
they
him.
sit him down for the rest of the year?
Yeah,
See how that
exactly.
goes over.
Themselves.
Bad timing for that.
They have to be kicking themselves for what they did last year with Strasburg when they really had a chance last year.
Well, they assumed they'd be back. Like it's
Right.
that easy to win in this league, and it's not.
It's just
so.
not. It's just not. So now that we're in our final show, let's take a quick look at the not the wild card races, but the postseason awards, the MVP, Cy Young Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Manager of the Year. We'll start off in the American League. Probably only one guy to talk about here. Miguel Cabrera with, just a sick year, 349 at this point, 43 home runs, 133 runs batted in. He's my pick. My runner-up and a close runner-up is Chris Davis. Chris Davis hit his 50th home run last night, batting right around 300, 128 runs batted in, and where would Baltimore be without Chris Davis?
They'd be nowhere.
Yeah.
Because
no, go ahead.
he just doesn't. There's not enough on that team, all the way around. Aside from Jones, there's not enough hitting there to keep them going. So without him, they probably wouldn't even be in this thing right now.
Yeah.
I think they should actually have 2 awards. They should have one that because a lot of people struggle with this. I guess when they do this voting at the end of the year is
Right.
the guy that's the most important piece to the team, which is, you know, if you take him out of the lineup, basically the team goes nowhere.
noticeable.
Right.
You're talking about statistically or just in terms of
Right,
intangibles?
And then there's the statistical guy, and in some cases they're both the same guy, depending on the season. But
Right.
like, you know, I'll
Well,
point
you
to the
could call
'88
the
Dodgers,
award,
right?
yes.
Kirk Gibson had
Absolutely.
like 25 home runs and 76 runs batted,
And
you
won
know,
the MVP.
and won the MVP.
And
So
probably rightfully so.
right.
But
Right, so the Player of the Year award and a MVP
Yes.
award might be
Yes.
something that
best
we're looking
hitter
for.
of the
Yeah.
year, or
You know.
you could do it that way, and then you'd be able to recognize a guy like Chris Davis.
Right.
Assuming he doesn't win, I mean, you think he has a shot?
I think he has a shot, but the only way he has a real shot is if somehow, some way, Baltimore gets in, and you know,
Yeah.
and they, you know, he's the linchpin right now.
Well, you know what? The writers will take that into consideration, as they did with Gibson. You know, I think if Baltimore does get in, and it's because Davis is really hot down the stretch, you know, you may see him. You may see him.
I
win.
think it's hard to overcome a guy hitting 348, 43 homers, and 133 RBIs. If he was hitting if Miggy was
Who's
hitting
played
290,
through injuries.
yeah, if
Who
Miggy,
was the Triple Crown winner last year?
it's hard to overcome all
Yeah.
that. It just is. I mean,
Yeah.
That's kind of a no-brainer this year.
Okay.
The only other guy that would have you know, in that realm would be Trout. I mean, he's quietly had a fantastic year. He's got an OPS over 1,000, which
Yeah.
is like in the Miggy and Davis range.
Right. He
you know,
did. He came back with a pretty darn good year.
Yeah.
the other guy that I wanted to throw out there, which I know I'm not a big fan of pitchers getting the MVP awards because I feel like they have their own award. Scherzer with Detroit,
Yeah.
they're nowhere without him at this point in time.
Yeah.
So 19-3, 3.01 ERA, .96 WHIP.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Right.
Well, you know what? That brings us to the Cy Young Award.
only 20-game winner probably in baseball.
Yeah,
Right.
That's all
that
set.
brings us to the Cy Young winner in the American League. I'm definitely going Scherzer. I mean, like you said,
gotta
19-3, 215 strikeouts and 194 innings pitched. You know, if we would have sat here at the beginning of the season and said the Cy Young Award winner is going to come from Detroit, who would you say?
Yeah.
Verlander.
Of course.
Yeah.
You think it would
No
be
doubt.
Verlander, hands down.
No doubt.
If you would say the
I
runner-
have him on a different list that we have going today.
Yes,
just so you know.
that's right.
Listen, if you would have said the runner-up in the AL Cy Young Award would be from Detroit, you would say, okay, it's going to be Verlander or probably Scherzer. In my mind, it's Anibal Sanchez. So I think right now Verlander has been the third best pitcher on that very deep staff.
Yeah, no, I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
very un-Verlander-like year this year, for sure.
And the other guy that I think obviously deserves some mention here is Yu Darvish.
Yeah.
I mean, 12-8,
Great season.
284 ERA, 1.04 WHIP.
The K totals are
Oh my
Crazy.
God!
No
unbelievable.
sophomore jinx there.
246 strikeouts in 186 innings.
I mean, if you think about it, you haven't seen strikeout totals
Not
like
like
that since
that.
like Nolan Ryan era baseball. You know, it's crazy.
J.R. Richards, and those
Yeah.
guys
Randy Johnson.
striking 300 guys out.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, you know, it's been a while since we've had somebody that dominant. This is a tough one. AL Rookie of the Year. Anybody want to throw somebody out there?
Well,
AL Rookie of the Year. I think there's only one choice for this one, and it's got to be Will Myers. He's just had a fantastic year.
That would be my guy.
that was my guy too. If you look at it, you got a few guys that kind of look the same, but the only other guy that I was going to throw out there was Chris Archer, 9-7, 3.03 ERA, 2 shutouts. I know
I think
he's
he won last night too, didn't he?
yeah, I know he's waned a little bit in the last couple of starts, and,
Right.
you know, before this one, and
Yeah, he
but
deserves mention, but you're right. I think it's probably
not an easy thing to do for a pitcher to
Yeah.
go out and have a 3.03 ERA and go 9-7. I think he started 20-something
especially in
games.
the American League.
Not easy to do, but
Yeah.
other than that, got to be Will Myers, I would think.
Yeah, I
those
mean,
are the
Myers,
guys.
292, 11 homers, 44 runs batted in, 5 stolen bases, but only in, 266 at bats.
Yep.
The comeback player of the year in the AL. I have a guy I'll throw out there. You guys tell me if you agree or not, but I think Victor Martinez. The guy missed all of 2012, came back this year to hit 297, 12 home runs, 75 runs batted in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's the only guy that I can see that came from all the way back, and it usually takes 2 years to come back from that type of stuff, you know.
I got 2 guys that are different actually, and I'm going to throw Mariano Rivera out there, coming back from that
Without
bad
a doubt.
injury last
Yeah.
year.
Without a doubt,
And-
at his age.
And the other guy I had is, he was never quite a great player, but Josh Donaldson, he's had a phenomenal year this year.
Yeah, he
I mean,
has.
if
Very,
you-
very quiet.
Yeah.
Quietly, yeah.
21 homers, 84 runs batted in. I mean, he's basically come from obscurity.
Yeah, absolutely. But Rivera's a good one. I actually
Yeah.
overlooked Rivera. That was a good one. AL Manager of the Year. I can think of two guys that deserve some pretty serious consideration here. You know, you almost have to give Girardi some serious consideration, even if the Yankees don't make the playoffs. I mean, you know, this guy has held this team in the race all year long
All those
with a
injuries.
boatload of injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Granderson, Euclid, Teixeira, Jeter, A-Rod. I mean,
Uke. We forgot about you, Uke. The Uke. What happened to the Euclid?
You know, I mean, I'm not a huge Girardi fan, but you know, you got to give Girardi. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a huge Girardi fan, but you have to give him consideration. The other guy is John Farrell. You know, worst to first. You know, he's probably my guy.
To me, that's the guy, because he took a disaster left behind by nobody's friend right now, Bobby Valentine.
Right.
And that was a mess of major proportions.
Right.
And to do what he did with that team, I mean, they really didn't add a whole lot of pieces, right?
They didn't.
Same team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've had their share of injuries too. Both of their closers went down. Buchholz has been out for a good chunk of the season.
He's the guy in my mind.
And the
That's-
clubhouse was a mess too.
The clubhouse was a
attitude
mess.
there. The only other guy I give an honorable mention to would be Bob Melvin in Oakland. He's taken, you know, a team with one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, and 2 years
Yeah,
in
I
a
think,
row,
68 million this year.
kept it very competitive. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's head over to the National League, then we'll take a quick commercial break. NL MVP, guys?
I
This
gotta
is an
go
interesting
with,
one.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Are you guys waiting till the last show to finally be polite to each other? Come on, somebody throw out a name.
There were two guys I looked at that I really thought had serious consideration for this. And I think the key to it is, especially number one from stats, and number two, if you did take him out of the lineup, it's a change team, and that's Andrew McCutchen. I think he is so important to that team, and what he does on the bases, at bat, and in the outfield. That
Yeah, I mean, statistically, a disappointing year, though, Adam McCutchen.
but
You know, if you go along the lines of the Gibson model, you know, maybe you can make a case for
it
McCutchen.
is. It's very much like that. You know, and I think he's a key cog in that machine. You know, the
Oh,
other
no
guy would have
question.
been Goldschmidt. He's just had a fantastic statistical
That's
year.
my guy. I don't know, what do you think?
McCutchen, I think, is the guy that makes that team go. Without him, they don't have it. And Starling Marte started out like a house on fire.
Right.
He turned into more of like a leadoff type hitter with 30 RBIs, you know, but 32 steals. I don't know where we're going with him, but at the end of the day, when you look at Goldschmidt, I mean, Goldie had a great year,
He did.
but I don't know, the Diamondbacks just don't give you that feeling like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't the feel of an MVP type of season. It was
Right,
more of a statistical season, but not the MVP season, although he had huge hits. Huge hits. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah,
torn
I
on
think
that
the
one.
huge hits, you know, there's a lot to be said for that.
Well,
I mean, here's
well-
another guy you could throw into the mix, and I'm going to have him as kind of a runner-up. I don't think he should win, but Carlos Beltran. I mean, you know, talk about a key guy in that lineup who's been in the lineup most of the year. Hit 305, 23 homers, 76 runs batted in. You know, the numbers aren't astounding, but, you know, where would they be without him?
Here's the one stat that really stands out for me from McCutchen. So, if you look at his on-base percentage, it's over 400, and his slugging, if you combine that, he's close to Goldschmidt in OPS. So on-base plus slugging percentage, Goldschmidt's 931, McCutchen's 928.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you that he's on base a lot, scoring, and he's also driving people in as well.
I have another candidate that I'm going to throw out there now. Don't get excited now. Don't get excited. Everyone just calm down.
I think
Hand
I
me the
know who
bell.
it might be.
Hand me the bell.
Yeah, the bell may need to be brought into play. All right, don't rock the table now.
The set's falling apart.
A few weeks ago, we had a call from Frank from Port Jeff about.
Oh.
Now hold on.
Here we go.
All I'm going to say is this.
You don't even have to say it. We already know.
Check, please. Now, all I'm going to say, I make a simple statement here. The question was broached, would Puig get any consideration for the MVP? And you and I both agreed, because I think Greg wasn't here that day, that there would be no consideration for Puig as MVP. However, I will say this. I would not be surprised if there were votes for him.
Well, we said that at the time.
And I think that if you look at the way the Dodgers season has gone and where they are right now and where they were the day that guy set foot on the field for them,
He's the turnaround.
they're not anywhere near what you just described without him. He is the guy.
He will get votes.
But-
And we
but-
said that.
Yeah, but the difference
We said that on that show.
But the difference of what I'm thinking about today versus then is that nothing happens on this season with that team without him, because there's nothing you could point to that sparked that team except for him. Ramirez wasn't hitting. Nothing was happening. Kershaw was having a great year. That was it. The bullpen stunk.
Yeah.
This guy steps on the field and he ignited an entire team and basically went from last to first over the course of a month or two. And now look at this team. Now they look unbeatable.
It goes back to what we alluded to earlier. I mean, he was the catalyst that basically changed that whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get like third place.
Because
in the
you're looking
voting.
at 337, 16
that.
homers, 37 RBIs.
Yeah.
I know it's not a lot, and whatever, 11, 12 steals. But defensively, he saves you a couple of runs a
Right,
week,
right.
at least minimum. You know, so
Listen,
just
you know
like
what? You
Gibson,
can make a
yeah,
case. You can make a case. You know, I think the only thing that'll hold him back is, you know, the fact that he only played
he
half a
hasn't
year.
played.
Right.
He hits a few more homers. He ends up with 20 homers and 55 RBIs
You're
or
right.
something. Listen, it could be more votes than we thought he was going to get.
Right,
So,
right. All right, let's go over to the National League Cy Young Award.
Oh, there's only one choice.
yeah, there's
here.
only one guy.
It's Clayton Kershaw. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
It's clear and
only
evident.
14 and 8, but 1.92 ERA on the season, 0.92 WHIP, 208 strikeouts and 216 innings pitched. I'll hand you the bell now, because I'm going to give you my runner-up.
Let me just say something about
Go ahead.
Kershaw though. He would have had a lot more wins. Just think that Dodger team
yeah.
didn't hit for him the first half of the season.
Absolutely, absolutely.
that-
Which is why my runner-up is Matt Harvey.
All right.
And I'm going to tell you why. That guy was the most dominant pitcher, probably in baseball, while he was on the field until he got hurt. Okay? His 9-5 record does nothing to indicate how well that guy pitched. 2.27 ERA on the season, 0.93 WHIP, 191 strikeouts in 178 innings. He's my runner-up. He's my runner-up. But a very honorable mention to Jose Fernandez. Very honorable mention, because that guy's been lights out most of the year, too.
Listen, you can make the case very quietly in Miami that the guy who just gave the honorable mention to is as good as Harvey. So, you know, it's hard to, it's a toss-up to me, but, you know, Harvey had a great year. And had he finished the season out normally without the injury, he probably would have been, it would have been a real close call, even without the wins. I think the win totals have been kind of disregarded over the last few years.
Well, you have to take into consideration.
Well, first of all, nobody's
you know,
winning
the
20
run
games
support.
anymore.
But you have to take
So-
into consideration the run support, you know. And
They're playing for similar teams, those two guys.
They are.
You know, not a lot of run support in either
They
one
are.
of those.
Yeah, you know, and Fernandez managed to win 12 games. But
Right.
all right, NL Rookie of the Year. Here's where your guy has a better shot, I think.
Yeah, I think that my gut feeling is it's a no-brainer, but the problem is that when you look at Jose Fernandez, you're looking at a guy with a 2.19 ERA as a rookie. Now, how you fight your way out of that one, I don't know, because how are they
Pitching
going to
for
vote for
Miami,
these two
he's
guys?
12-6,
12-6, .98 WHIP, but here's the stat that just
187 strikeouts.
right, and here's the stat that blows you away: 172 innings. The guy has given up 111 hits in 172 innings. This guy's unhittable.
That's
Now,
filthy.
This guy's unhittable. Now, granted, he walked 58 batters, but the point is, had he pitched to half those guys, they wouldn't have gotten hits either. You know, so I don't know how this could be a toss-up.
The
It could be
whip
a
is
tie.
still under 1. I don't mind that he walked 58 guys this year, you know, with 187 strikeouts. I can live with that. You know, that's a rookie kind of thing. I think his control will get a little bit better probably in the next year or two as well. But that's going to be probably the toughest call of all the postseason awards.
Yep.
Puig and Fernandez.
Yeah, I think that's
Gotta
going to be
be.
a close race.
You know.
You know, the other thing too is not that he's in this race, but very quietly, Evan Gattis has 19 home runs and 57 runs batted
Leading all rookies.
in 291 at bats
Yep.
as a part-time player.
Leading all rookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of went through a
Yeah.
real slump for a while,
Yeah.
but you know, I think the competition is just too much for him this year, though.
No,
In a lot of years,
it's those two, and that's really
yeah, in a
it,
lot of
yeah.
years he'd have a chance. This year he has no chance.
Listen, you have other guys too that we're not even talking about. Ryu on
Yeah.
the Dodgers.
Right.
Who I discount because of his age, but okay.
Gaddis, we were talking about Arenado.
Yeah.
Has had a decent year. Shelby Miller qualifies.
Yep.
We're not even talking about him. So it's a tough year for rookies. Even Jerko, for all intents and
Yeah.
purposes,
Yeah,
in a different
another-
time and place, he'd be the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
So
Here's a fun one, man. NL Comeback Player of the Year. One guy, to me, is just way above his competition, and that's Francisco Liriano.
he's the guy.
That's who I had too.
16-7, 2.92 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, 144 strikeouts in 142 innings. This guy's coming off of like a
Miserable
5.49 ERA last year and the year before that.
No, he's been miserable for 2-3 years now.
He's been
you know?
miserable, really.
If he wins it this year, it'd be the second time he's actually won this award
That's
before.
right.
Right,
Yeah.
first time was come
Yes,
back from the injury.
yes.
Yep.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. And then quickly, NL Manager of the Year. To me, there's only one guy. Clint Hurdle, Pirates. When you take a team, I don't care about anything. When you take a team to its first winning season in 21 years, you're the Manager of the Year.
I agree with you. I'd give honorable mention to Mattingly because the way he maintained composure through that, he went through a real rocky stretch there, a lot of injuries, and he's
Yeah.
look at him now.
I mean, the Pirates are going to make the playoffs. I got to go with Clint.
Yeah.
You with me or against me?
I'm not against Clint Hurdle, but I'm just thinking that Mattingly probably was under tremendous more pressure. He was on the verge of being fired. That clubhouse, that
Listen, man,
payroll, and you're
Puig saved his job, if nothing
well,
else.
Puig saved his job, but then everything else fell into place. You know, the bullpen got together.
Right.
Ramirez started to hit.
Right.
Crawford actually started to hit for him. Things began happening, but he has to sit there with his $250 million payroll and make that work. I don't know what the payroll is in Pittsburgh. I'm going to guess it's around $50 million
Yeah,
or
it's
less.
It's near the
50,
bottom like
60
Oakland.
million.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and not as much pressure. Pittsburgh's not the kind of town where you're gonna be under attack every day. I'm sure Mattingly had to deal with the scrutiny day in and day out. Bosses, are you getting fired? Team stinks, this and that. So it's a different world. The end results for both guys will probably be the same. They'll both get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But one guy had to do it probably under tremendous more pressure than say the guy in Pittsburgh in my mind. So I don't know. It's a close call.
It
so.
is. It is. All right, you know what? Let's take a break. We'll come back with Man Crush in a couple of minutes.
Get it on myself.
Hanging with the cool kids at radio.com.
Stop putting it off and start taping it up today at Ben's Paint Station.
East End Screen Printing and Embroidery. Shirts for as low as $3 with print. 631-281-TEES. That's 631-281-TEES. 1355F Montauk Highway, Mastic, Long Island, New York. Go to eastendsilkscreenprinting.com for more info.
InRevio.com.
Hey, this is Paul Discofani, the disco portion of the Glory Days with Bruce and Disco show on Sundays, 10 a.m. to noon. It's a sports show with a twist. We have entertainment, music, and whatever you want to talk about. Only on InRevio.com, broadcasting to the world.
Sud City Car Wash, Montauk Highway in Mastic, Long Island, New York. $9.99 early bird special Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Phone 395-6114. Sud City Car Wash. Hand washes, hand waxes, and detailing. Interior cleaning, brushless, car wash club. Simonized products. Sud City Car Wash, Montauk Highway in Mastic, Long Island, New York.
Okay, folks, we're back, and we're going to get into our Man Crush segment. Matt Harvey, quick update, no new news. He appears to be still pondering his decision on whether to go into the knife or not. Puig this week, 222, 2 homers, 5 runs batted in, and a steal.
Yeah, a quiet week, but he's still a full force on that team in my mind.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing now is the march down the stretch and into the playoffs with him.
Yeah.
See where that team goes from there.
And the same thing could be said for Machado. He had a rough week, 241, only 2 runs batted in. He's been on a kind of a slide for a while, but I'll tell you what,
Some great defense.
Baltimore can use him right now, and he needs to get hot.
Yeah, he played some great defense this week. Some
Yeah.
really great plays.
Does he still have a shot to set the record for doubles in a season, or is that out of reach now?
I think he's got a shot, but to be honest, I think it's out of reach at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's take a look, guys, at who the big surprises were in fantasy baseball for 2013. Some guys that had some pretty big breakout seasons. I'm going to start with a guy that I drafted and was really riding the wave with until he got hurt. But Dominic Brown really stepped up this year. Just really kind of came out of nowhere. He was a top prospect for a while. Then he kind of fell off the radar, but came back really strong this season.
Yeah, definitely.
I totally agree. He was a guy that I was on, I think it was last year or the year before, and it was kind of one of those guys where every year you hear about him, but nothing really ever seems to happen with him.
He looked like he was getting ready to fade into oblivion there.
Exactly. He looked like another one of these guys that was just going to go off into the sunset, and then came out like a house on fire in the beginning. And unfortunately, the injury, he'll end up with 85 RBIs or whatever he ends up with, 27 homers. Still a good season. Is he done for the year now? Is he?
He's coming back.
He could put some stats up before it's all over.
I think he's going to play the last couple of weeks.
All right.
We'll see what happens.
All right.
How about Patrick Corbin?
That's my guy. That's the guy that I was going to say was the biggest surprise. There is no way,
Huge surprise.
no way you could have sat there in March, although that's when I picked him up, but there's no way you could have said this guy's going to be 9-0. And then, now since then, he hasn't pitched badly. He just hasn't gotten the decisions.
Yeah.
So he's now, 14-6 with a 2.92 ERA, a 1.09 whip.
Yeah.
That is a shock. If you look at his numbers last year and look at his minor league numbers as well, there is nothing that indicates any of this. So to me, he is the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I would agree. He's just been phenomenal. Who else we have?
I'd say also Hisashi Iwakuma. That guy kind of came out of nowhere. The fact that he pitches in Seattle doesn't help him either. But
Most underrated pitcher in baseball.
Had a great season. And Gene Segura, I'd also add to that.
Segura was the guy I was going to mention. I mean, he just, came out, house on fire at the beginning of the season. I mean, it was just amazing. And, he kind of tailed off.
Yeah, he kind of regressed a little bit the last month or
he
two.
did.
You know, it's not like. But then again, to be honest with you, he was another guy playing way over his statistical background, more of an outlier type of season. I don't know if you can expect to see this from this guy every single year.
Well, here's what you're going to see next year, I think. I mean, right now he's hitting 300, 12 homers, 46 runs batted in. Here's the key: 42 stolen bases. I think you're going to continue to see the average in the stolen bases. You know, will he wind up being an 8 or 10 homer guy? Maybe. You know,
Just don't turn into Ricky Weeks, please.
don't turn into
I
Ricky
can't
Weeks.
stand him.
You know, the other guy I'll add in there is the General's favorite, Carlos Gomez. I would have never have expected the year out of him that he had.
Because
No,
he had,
yes, you said that. We did talk about this at the beginning of the season.
yeah,
We
he had
discussed
a tremendous second half last year, and I really was feeling good about him coming into this year.
I don't mention Gomez right now because I kind of was looking for the same type of season. It didn't really surprise me, so I'm okay with that. To me, he's turned into one of these power speed guys. He's been achy and hurt a little bit here and there over the last month. He hasn't really produced, so he's on my roster, so I know, you know, but to me, great season. And the other guy I want to throw out there, because, you know, you forget about these guys because you just forget about them, but Bartolo Colon. You could not have sat there in March when you drafted a team and said, oh, this guy's going to be 15-6 with a 2.85 and a 1.20 whip. You would never have said that.
Amazing.
You know?
Amazing. A couple other guys that we mentioned already, really, Gaddis with a breakout season, Jerko with a breakout season. You know, both of
Very
those guys.
quietly in San Diego.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
the
you know
pressure's
what?
not high. And
Yeah.
Tony Cingrani, too, another one. who's had a great
Cingrani.
season.
He's another one.
Another guy I'll throw out there that, again, we just kind of go about our business and we forget about these guys. But Matt Moore, he's 15-3.
Yeah.
3.18 ERA, 1.24. Now, we all know he's a good pitcher, but you know, if he gets 1 or 2 more starts, ends up with 17 wins, and, you know, that's a phenomenal season you probably couldn't have counted on. He wasn't 10-10 or 12-10. You know, if he wins 2 more, he'd be 17-3. So that's incredible.
Yeah. Some real disappointments this year in fantasy baseball.
Oh my God, the
I mean,
list is too long.
This is a long list. I mean, you know, a couple guys that come to mind, Miguel Montero for Arizona. You know, he's a guy that I've gone with the last couple of years. You know, when the elite level catchers are drafted already, I always fall back on this guy, and he gives me a really solid season. This year, just terrible. You know, 189 on the year, 3 home runs, 14 runs batted in, 13 runs scored. You know, terrible season for him. Yeah. And he kept saying, okay, this is where I get hot, this is where I get hot, and it just didn't happen.
Nope.
Another guy who's a major disappointment this year was Ike Davis.
Yeah,
You know what's funny?
I had him on the list.
I don't even have him on my list because I wasn't expecting much from him anyway.
I hit 32 homers last year.
I wasn't feeling it. When you're that bad for that long, I just wasn't feeling it. I mean, I know it's a horrendous season,
But he was that good the second half that you,
I guess.
Listen,
You would have expected something better than that.
I expected a 290
20
batting
homers.
average, 25 to 30 home runs, you know, 80 or 90 runs batted in. This guy wasn't close. He hit 147.
Listen, the guy that sticks out and it's like a sore thumb right now is Josh Hamilton.
Yeah.
That is a disaster.
Yeah.
And that is in 527 at-bats. It's not like he had half a season.
Right.
245, 20 homers, 67 RBIs, probably a #1 pick for somebody out there, or definitely a first rounder.
Certainly a high
And
pick,
you're
yeah.
just, I mean, it's a blown pick, basically.
Yeah.
I have a couple other guys, too.
Go ahead. Yeah,
How about Bryce Harper? I mean, to me,
You know what? The
Now,
guy's
granted,
been playing injured.
I hear you, but-
You know, since he ran into that wall early in the season and we yelled at him, you know, I think that's most of his problem.
He's missed a lot. He's starting to take on that injured player title now.
Yeah.
So, you know, is this what we're going to see every season from him?
And I'm going to give a little shout out to the Guru right now. I'm going to give a shout out to the Guru because back when Trout and Harper were both in the minor leagues or were just starting to come up, and then Trout came up and hadn't done anything yet, the Guru stated, he wasn't the Guru at that time, but he stated,
We made you the guru.
he stated that Trout will be a better player than Harper. And at that point in time, how would you know that? No one would know, because you never, you know, they both had the same talent at that time.
Right.
And boy, oh boy, was he right, because right now Trout is hands down much better than Harper, no doubt in my mind.
No doubt.
But I'm not writing off Harper at this point of his career. I think he's still going to be a major star.
Young, very, very young.
You know, I mean,
He
he's
should be in the
20
minor
years
leagues,
old.
right? At that age, he should be in the minor leagues, and we forget that too.
And he can handle the, you know, the being in the major leagues. I think his problem is he's young.
It's just maturing as a hitter. That's
and
what it comes
maturing
down to.
physically too. I mean, I think the injuries will probably, as his body gets stronger and he develops a little bit more, the injuries will probably tail off a little bit. And if he stops running into walls and you know, that type of thing. Here's a big disappointment for me this year, Matt Kemp. Oh my God. I mean, let me tell you, I traded
2 years in a row.
I traded for him early this season and got nothing. I got nothing. I'm telling you, I mean, you know what? Does the guy have 2 homers on the year? Could that be right?
Probably. He hasn't been on the field too much.
I got to look at this because I realized his season was horrendous, but I have to look at the actual numbers here. Let's take a look at Mr. Kemp.
This is a recurring theme with Kemp. This is nothing new.
Yeah.
We are now so
No,
far
I'm
removed.
sorry. Here's his season. You ready, guys? 263 batting average. 5. I can count them on one hand. 5 home runs.
You can go to Subway and get a sandwich with that.
$5 footlongs. 27 runs batted in, 9 steals.
Oh.
Horrible year. Horrible year for Kemp.
These injuries that these guys, like injury-prone guys, I mean, I tell you, it is, you know, it makes you appreciate guys that go out and play every day and for so long, like Jeter, like even A-Rod, before he started breaking down,
Yeah.
he was an everyday guy.
Yeah.
The silver line to that is your loss is the General's gain. Because we wouldn't have
opened the
Puig
door
if it was,
wide open.
That's right.
For the Cuban Missile.
Yes, that's right.
Here's another guy that I took a chance on this year, figuring I was going to get some kind of production out of him, at least home runs and stolen bases. But
yeah.
BJ Upton has been horrible from day one through today.
I think the 3 of us could have put up better numbers than him this
Give
year.
me a shot at it.
I think I could hit 192. You know, 192, 9 home runs, 26 runs batted in, 12 steals, 30 runs. Give me a break.
Oh my God, it's just so bad.
You know, I just don't understand how this guy.
I'll give you his brother too. He's a disappointment this year too. Outside of that
After
one
the
hot
great
month,
start,
yeah, that's it.
I don't think, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Upton, I'm sorry, I hate to break this to you. Your son should not play together on the same team. Can we separate them and go back to the 240 batting average, the 30 homers and the 30 steals? At least we had something out of him.
Got nothing now.
I got another guy I want to throw out there. Another first-round pick, might have been a first pick for someone, Ryan Braun.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from, he got off to a semi-slow start, then he had some injuries, and then of course he gets suspended. Again, probably someone's #1 pick. I think it was mine actually, and gone for the year, not helping you down the stretch at all.
His #1 pick, because if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I was one of those guys. I thought it was all going to come down after the season, so I rolled the dice because we knew at that time there was an issue. We all knew.
Right.
And I just figured, you know what, it'll all get pushed out. They'll hang it up in court or whatever, and unfortunately, backfired.
I got another first rounder for you that's been a huge disappointment. I think you might have had him too, is Stanton. He's been horrible this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at 22 homers, 52 runs batted in, and 256 batting average.
You know, another guy that missed
And missed the
time,
first month and a half of the
because of
season.
injury, but yeah, absolutely.
And the other 2 guys I'm just going to throw out there quickly, we already touched on them, was Verlander at 13-11, 3.66 ERA, 1.34 ERA. That means
Very un-Verlander-like.
whip. That is pedestrian numbers in the American League. And CC Sabathia is a disaster. He might not have been a first rounder, but I'm sure he was, by the 3rd or 4th round. And you're looking for a little more than that. I mean, and there's a long list of other guys. I mean, there's just a few that we all threw out there, but there might be more. I don't know.
The only other one I'd throw in would be Matt Cain. He's usually money in fantasy, and this year it was crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, let's move into who's hot and who's not right now. If you're watching this show, you're probably still in the playoffs in your fantasy league, or at least you're in a rotisserie league where you have a chance. So here's who's hot. We've got the 500 Club this week. One member this week, Andrew McCutcheon, hit 524. Ryan Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Big week.
Had another home run last night, too.
Big week. 7 home runs this week. Big week.
This guy goes in and out of usefulness for me, and he's in the usefulness right now, but it's so hard to deal with him during the season, day to day.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, he's been a little bit of a disappointment, but if you got him right
he's
now,
getting
If
hot
you
at the
held
right
on to
time.
him.
Yeah.
if you're playing him this week, you're very happy.
Washington needs him now.
Mark Trumbo, 4 home runs this week, 448 batting average, 9 runs batted in.
Another guy that
9
kind of
runs scored.
gets forgotten in all of it, and there he is now playing better than Josh Hamilton, being more of a factor on that team, bigger than Pujols, bigger than everyone, and we don't even talk about the guy. We've probably barely even mentioned him this year on the show.
Mike Napoli,
Yeah, he's.
you know, nice week. 368, 3 home runs, 9 runs batted in, 7 runs scored on a very, very hot-hitting Boston Red Sox team right now. I mean, they are just cranking out home run after home run.
Crazy.
I gotta say one thing though, I cannot stand those beards anymore in any of those guys. It is just it's so out of hand with these guys. The management's gotta get involved and say, look here's what we're gonna do. Everyone shave that crap off.
General wants rules, dress code.
Oh
You know,
my God.
Steinbrenner is dead. Facial hair is alive.
You would never see that on the Yankees, folks. And we move on.
All right. Hanley.
Hanram, he's been on fire. I mean, he really perked up once Puig came to the Dodgers, and he's like renewed him. Unfortunately, though, he's out now for a little bit. That's which always bites you when you draft him, is he's going to spend some time on the DL.
Yeah, it's a shame because the guy was red hot. 385 this week.
Really helping carry that team.
Yeah, 3 home runs, 6 runs batted in. It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. And Nick Swisher.
Switch your lisses.
346 this week, all right?
Jolly old Saint Nick.
3 home runs, 6 runs batted in. Who's having more fun than Swisher?
Listen, even when he's not hitting well, who has more fun than Swisher?
Yeah, that's a good point.
A couple of pitchers that are really getting the job done right now. Cliff Lee.
It's about time. We're finally seeing the Cliff Lee we expect here,
I thought he was in the witness protection program.
Listen to his week. 2-0, 1.69 ERA, 0.50 WHIP, 19 strikeouts, 16 innings pitched.
That's what I want, damn it, when I draft Cliff Lee.
You know what? He's helping somebody down the stretch right now.
Yeah, he's not helping me.
Anibal Sanchez, just what a great year. This week, 2-0, 0.63 ERA, 1.19 WHIP. 15 strikeouts and 14 and a third. Great year.
Yeah, I'm noticing that the pitching stats are slowly improving year by year by year now. I wonder why.
Here's a guy that, if you're still playing and you need a pitcher, a guy that may be out there is Mike Leake. 2-0 last week, 1.35 ERA, 0.98 WHIP, 11 strikeouts.
We should have had him on our breakout list, too, because he's had a breakout year. He's had a really good year for the
He ran the risk of almost being run out of that rotation and had recovered to have a good season.
Yeah, well, Cueto's injury helped him there, but Jose Fernandez still getting it done, 2-0 this week. You think he might slow down at the end, get a little tired, pitching a lot of innings. 2-0, 0.64 ERA, 0.79 WHIP, 14 strikeouts, and 1 very controversial home run. I don't know if you guys saw that, but guy goes out, he hits his first major league home run of his career. I think it was against Atlanta, and he's rounding third base, and he spits in the direction of third baseman for Atlanta. Help me.
Chip Johnson, what's his name?
Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson.
Yeah. And caused a bench clearing brawl. So you're a little feisty there.
Although I'll say this: at least he realized how stupid that was, and after all the brouhaha was calmed down, he admitted he went and apologized to everyone and admitted afterwards that he made a mistake and that was a stupid thing to do. And why he did it, I don't know. Maybe there was some words exchanged. Who knows?
Well, there was when Chris Johnson in the previous inning. I was watching it the other night. He flew out. I guess it was deep to the outfield, and he turned around and looked at Fernandez, and he's like, "You got nothing," something to that effect. So that's I think
so
what
there was
started
an instigating moment.
Yeah, so it wasn't totally his fault. It wasn't like he was sticking it to him.
And by the way, he might be shut down by now. He's not.
He's done.
Yeah,
he's done.
There was somebody else that is done. Cozart is done. He reached his inning limit.
Jared Cozart.
One other guy that's hot, Tanner Rourke. Came out and won his first 2 major league starts after. I think he had 4 wins in the pen this year, but 2-0 this week. 1.5 ERA, 0.92 WHIP. You know what? He's out there.
And low innings. So he's available. You should already have him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Who's not hot, guys?
Got Buchholz return, went 5 scoreless innings, giving up 3 hits and a walk Tuesday. I'm sorry I thought we were doing injury update.
You're jumping ahead there.
Okay.
It's been a long season. The Commish is wearing down.
Well,
He doesn't have Black
B.J.
Betty with him.
Upton. There you go. That's every week.
well, yeah, and his brother right behind him.
Yeah.
One, between the two of them, they're 3 for 36.
3 for 36, Upton brothers. Mitch Moreland 0 for 13. Dan Ugla 0 for 11. I guess the LASIK surgery has done nothing.
No, he's not Ugla. He's Fugla right now.
Yeah, he's,
Fugly.
I'm gonna stop right there. I don't want to get fined on our last show. Carl Crawford 3 for 27 this week.
Carl, come back to us.
Adam Dunn 2 for 25. 220 on the season.
Listen, Adam Dunn's got to make a decision what he's going to be the rest of his career.
Oh.
God, can you really put up with a guy?
He's all or nothing.
Can you put up with that in a major league lineup forever? A 190 to 200 type hitter?
Some team always does. I don't get it.
It's becoming more and
It's
more
like-
of a problem everywhere. Pedro Alvarez is another one.
Yeah. Matt Garza, another guy who went cold at the wrong time, not only for the Rangers, but for anybody that has him in a fantasy league, myself included. 0-2 this week, 6.55 ERA, 1.64 whip. Mike Pelfrey, not that this is anything new, but 0-2 this week. An astounding ERA of 12, a very generous 1.89 whip. He's another guy that, what do you do with this guy?
I think he may be heading for retirement.
I think it's over.
Yeah. All right, quick rundown on the injury update. You were talking about Mr. Buckles.
Yes, Buckle on cue now.
You got a little ahead of yourself.
How about it, Commish?
5 scoreless innings, 3 hits, a walk Tuesday against the Rays. You know what? Nice shot in the arm for the Red Sox to get this guy back, right?
And nice shot in the arm
Yeah.
for anybody that has him in a fantasy league.
Yes.
Bud Norris scratched from his start Friday. Jason Hamill is stepping in for him. King Felix still with some back issues.
Yeah.
He got pushed back again. Derek Jeter done for the year. What a horrible season for Jeter. Lost season. He's another guy that you have to wonder what does he have left in the tank for his career.
I think he's, I wouldn't be totally shocked if roundabout like December is an announcement that he's retiring, but I just don't sense that's what he's going to do. I sense he's going to want to come back, kind of like what Mariano did, and play a final. I think
He
a final
probably
season.
should. I don't think there's anything statistically left for him to accomplish.
Not really, not at this point. It's just more of it'd be more of a
A
ceremonial type
farewell,
of a season.
ceremonial tour kind of thing.
And I have a feeling he
And
probably.
I have no problem with that. I think he deserves
he
it.
wouldn't play 155 games. I mean, I don't know. It depends on. See, we sit here like we know what he's thinking, but it's hard to step into that world, and he might just call it right here and now, kind of like the way Mattingly did.
Yeah.
Mattingly did it on the plane heading back from Seattle in '95. Guys, I'm done. I have nothing left in my back. I can't even swing anymore. For him to play, he had to go through this ridiculous regimen every day.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd love to see it because that means both he and Mariano would probably go in at the same time.
That'd be the same
That
year,
would be
same time. Yeah.
That would be.
That would have been
They
great.
came up together. It would be kind of the natural progression and end to two great careers.
Ellsbury, compression fracture in his
Yeah,
foot.
this is
That's
a big one.
That's a big
yeah,
one. That's a
he's
big
what
one.
makes that Boston team go. So.
Yeah, he's kind of the what makes them tick offensively, and that's going to be a big loss for them. It's going to be a big loss for anybody still playing in a fantasy league, and
He's a free agent.
there's a chance it could affect his value as a free agent going into next season if it's any kind of serious injury. Joe Mauer, still not close. Ike Davis, mercifully on the 60-day DL. I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't. I couldn't watch it.
I'd rather have Ike Turner out there hitting for me at this point in time.
I couldn't watch him every day. I mean, it was just so pathetic at one point that.
The Mets have a major decision to make with this guy. You cannot roll him out there again opening day next year and just hope that things go well. That's not going to sit well. You're not going to have, more than likely, you're not going to have Harvey. You can't roll out him.
Yeah. Here's a guy that needs to play winter ball. He needs to get healthy. He needs to play winter ball. He needs to come in and have a great spring. And the Mets will give him one more chance. They're not going to cut him loose. They already said they're not going to non-tender him. So he's got one more shot. One more shot.
He better call George Brett and get some personal instruction over the winter if he wants to remain in the major leagues. That's all I got to say.
David Wright may be back next week. Good news. Carlos Gonzalez going for a second opinion. That can't be good. And Kemp, maybe next week.
No, the maybe next week thing has been used about 30 weeks this year. On, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Anything else you guys want to wrap up? You want to go over a couple of two-star pitchers? You want
Before we do the two-star pitchers, can I just throw out one name that I think we all forgot and we should have remembered? For a guy who had a big surprise year, which I'm sure he went undrafted, Marlon Byrd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That guy.
He, has a chance. If it wasn't for Liriano, he'd have strong consideration for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, he's great year.
I mean, he was the only bright spot in that Met organization for the entire season. And honestly, some of the games they wouldn't have won any of those games if he didn't hit a home run or do something. So without him, I don't know where their record would be right now.
Yeah.
He slots in nicely in that Pittsburgh
Oh my God!
offense now.
There couldn't have been a more perfect fit.
You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, a couple of quick two-star guys you might want to consider. Cliff Lee, 2 really good starts this week. The guy is hot. He's pitching against Miami at home, and then also against the Mets at home. So I'm all over those 2 starts. Anibal Sanchez, he's got Seattle and the White Sox at home. I like those 2 starts. Greinke pitching well. He's at Arizona against Corbin, and then at San Diego against Cashner.
I'm surprised they're still letting Corbin pitch. He's
He's up 197 innings right now.
You know what? Shut him down.
And their season's over.
Yeah.
Shut him down. There's no reason for it at this point. Mike Minor, a couple of good starts this week at Washington, at Chicago.
The big one's Mike Leake.
Yeah.
Mike Leake is the one because right now he's against Houston, doesn't matter who they pitch. And the other one is against Jeff Locke, who has struggled mightily with Pittsburgh. So there's a good chance there for a couple of wins out of a 2-star pitcher. So
Yeah. Anybody else jump out, guys?
I think you hit them all there.
yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a lot of tough matchups here, but that's the only one. There's a lot of tough ones.
Yeah.
A couple of tough hills to climb for some of these guys this week.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex Cobb, you can make a case. I don't know if he's pitching that well right now, but Matt Garza and Miguel Gonzalez, he's playing in Texas and Baltimore.
Yeah.
Garza's pitching horribly, and Miguel Gonzalez, I don't know if he's the answer there either. So
Yeah. Hey, listen, one other guy to throw out, and we talked about him earlier, is Tanner Rourke. He has 2 starts this week. First start at home against Atlanta. Second start at home versus Miami. So I would probably roll the dice with that guy this week.
Corey Kluber, he's got Danny Duffy of Kansas City, and again, Houston to be announced. Anytime you see Houston or Seattle next to a pitcher's name, you just run, don't walk to the waiver wire.
All right, so listen, we're going to wrap up year 1 of Fantasy Baseball Code Red.
How about a World Series prediction before we go?
Oh, let's do that. Who are you going for?
I'm going for my Dodgers. I think they're too hard to be beat this year. We're bringing back the '88 team, and we're going.
That's the only team I feel the Magic carpet ride is working. The Magic is there. The Cardinals, I think, have a lot of weapons and can be strong. I think they're going to get Craig back in a few weeks before the playoffs start, and then but I just feel like even with the Hanley injury, I just kind of feel like it's their way, to go. The bullpen's doing well. They got the pitching.
Yeah, my sentimental favorite is Pittsburgh. There's no way they win the World Series. It would be a Cinderella season. But I have to agree with you guys on the Dodgers, and here's the reason why: the pitching. These short series always boil down to pitching, and when you have guys like Kershaw and Rue and Greinke and a strong pen,
and Nolasco has been fantastic.
And Nolasco,
they're going to be so hard to beat.
They're very deep. So I have to say that I agree with you guys on the Dodgers pick. And you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing them win it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing.
Thanks, Admiral.
All right, so listen, for all you fantasy nuts, Sunday mornings, Fantasy Football Code Red, 11 o'clock on radio. This has been a lot of fun this year, guys. Had a great time.
Very good.
I hope you guys learned something from me.
have to give our thanks to the lovely Christine.
Thank you, Christine,
for putting up with us all season long, and of course Tom, who's not here today. But listen, thanks for tuning in. We had a great time this year. We should be back next year, and for Fantasy Baseball Code Red, this is the Admiral and the General and the Commish. Signing off. We'll see you next year.
I love you, Yazel.